So in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about email etiquette. Here I have in front of me, I have an email that I've written to Jim, and I can improve it in many ways. So it says, "Hi Jim, can you please collect all the stock from the other store? Then do a complete inventory of the stock and let me know all the discrepancies. I need to do this as soon as possible as Mark is hassling me. Can you believe it? Thanks, Graham." Now there's a number of things that I could really do to improve this email. So let's look at the first email etiquette. Meaningful subject lines. So this subject line is help. Well, that's not really very meaningful. Perhaps what I could do is help, I need a stock check done as soon as possible. That's now a meaningful subject line, which means that when the recipient receives it, he may just choose whether he's going to read emails based on the subject line. So that gives him an understanding as to what is in that email. So that's the first one, meaningful stock subject lines. The next one, make instructions as clear as possible and avoid essays. Let's look at what we have here. I'm going to now change this. Wherever possible in emails, it's always a good idea to do numbered lists or bullet points. "Hi Jim, can you do the following, please?" So I'm now going to come up here into my formatting and I'm going to have bulleted lists. Collect all the stock from the store. Perform a complete inventory check. Email me any discrepancies. And there we go. And those are the 3 tasks I would like Jim to do. So now I'm going to delete the rest of that essay. And it's very clear to Jim specifically the 3 tasks he must do. The next part of email etiquette is state your expectations, including dates. Now I tried to do this, I need to do this as soon as possible as Mark is hassling me. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put a deadline to it. Can you please get this done by the end of Friday? There we go. So now there is a clear deadline as to when I expect Jim to have this done. Just saying I need it urgently, well, Jim might have other urgent things that he might choose to prioritize. By giving him this expected deadline, it allows him to come back and say that is possible, that's not possible, and there's a clear understanding between the two of you of when you're expecting it. Now, the next part of the email etiquette is, remember you can't take it back. Notice that Mark is hassling me. Can you believe it? What would happen if Jim was to give this email to Mark? What happens if Mark was to see it? This is a personal response, and we'd always avoid putting things like this that could get you into trouble. If you want to have Jim aware that Mark is concerned about this, you can say, "Mark has requested this as soon as possible." And that's a less emotional response, but still, it ensures that Jim is aware that Mark has requested this. What else can we do within this? So formatting is very important. So our next tip is formatting. What I might want to do is I can do some things like insert perhaps some horizontal lines. That might be appropriate if I had another topic that I want to discuss. I can in fact use any of the formatting that is here, similar to what is in Microsoft Word. I can also change the styles, and there's a certain style set that is available here, and as I hover over it, you can see the entire look and feel of the email is completely changed. And you might decide that certain emails you might want to apply certain styles to ensure there is correct emphasis on the information. I'm just going to keep it as the default, but it just shows you the sort of things you can do. The next thing is, do not assume people will read it. Well, how can I ensure that this is followed up and actioned? I've got a number of options. First of all, what I can do is in the options, I can request a delivery receipt so I know that it is being delivered, but also request a read receipt. Now, of course, remember that Jim, when he receives this, he can choose not to send you that read receipt, but at least it gives you a certain amount of ability. Another thing you might want to do is you might want to have a follow-up, and you might want to set a follow-up to yourself, and what you're going to do is flag it to yourself, perhaps on the Friday to follow up. Note you can also flag for Jim if you would like him to follow up as well, so that it creates a task in his to-do list. Just be aware that you might annoy certain recipients if you're constantly setting them tasks to do. The final tip that we're going to mention is avoid emotional responses. Have you ever received that email that makes you so angry that you click reply and then you send it straight away? If you feel that it might be an emotional response, remember again, you can't take that email back, and it can also land a lot of problems. Therefore, we'd suggest either saving it as a draft just by clicking close, Outlook will save it, or there's another option. What you can do is in your options, you can delay the delivery. And by clicking on this pop-up occurs, and then I have the ability to arrange specific delivery options. Now just remember, if I perhaps arrange to deliver this tomorrow in the morning, then Outlook needs to be open for this actually to take place. If my computer's switched off, then this won't occur until I next switch on my computer. Remember, emails is a great form of communication, but sometimes it could be right to pick up the phone instead. And in fact, some companies actually have a email-free day where they encourage people to actually speak to people on the telephone rather than just go via an email. How many times have you sent an email to the person who's just in the next room, where in fact a quick conversation could be a lot more efficient? As usual, give it a go and you'll find your own way of sending emails. Being as clear and concise in an email will only ensure you and your team will work as efficiently as possible. As usual, give it all a go.